Welcome back to the video library. Today we're going to be discussing how to set up an employee. First, we need to navigate to Tools, Options, and under the Employee section, we're going to find a few items here. We got Classification and then Employee Setup are going to be the important ones. First, if we've never done anything in here in terms of classifications or setting up an employee, we first need to look at our classifications. These are going to be the classifications in which you link an employee to. For example, wait staff, bartender, green staff, golf shop, etc. In our system, we can have multiple classifications set up under one employee. So when they do clock in, if you're utilizing TimeKeeper, they'll be asked what classification they're going to be doing that day. So if you're a bartender in the morning and then golf shop in the evening, you would clock out and clock back in as that appropriate classification. Under the classification, for example, wait staff, you'll find a few things in here as well. The biggest one that mostly revolves around food and beverage is going to be show and check transfer screen. This is an important one for if you need to transfer a check as a server from one employee to another. Keep in mind you do need to be clocked in for this function to work. The reason for that is it needs to understand who's there, and you have to clock in to do so. So if you aren't using TimeKeeper, you can just simply clock in and clock out and disregard the amount of hours that person worked for this function to work. Also, an important one in here would be disable TimeKeeper. This would be turned on for possibly management or anybody that's a salary at the facility. You can also edit the classification name. So if you needed to change the verbiage up here, you can just simply erase and retype and hit save. So that's basically what classifications are. Now we're ready to set up an employee. So in employee setup, at the top here we have the status, active or inactive. If an employee is seasonal, for example, you can inactivate them and they'll live in the inactivation column over here. So if they came back, you can reactivate them if you wanted to keep this list clean and organized. Also, we have a store filter. So if your facility has multiple store locations, we can filter up here by the actual store, and it'll show the list of the people that are working in that store and set up. To add a new employee, we just simply need to come over here to add, and then we can just fill out the appropriate information. Username, most people use first name, last initial, or vice versa. Completely up to you. The username, if you're logging into Club Profit, will be used as the login username, and the password will be that password as well. So just keep that in mind for anybody that you want to log in as themselves to the system. They'll be using the username, which is not case specific, and the password that is. After that, we have PIN. PIN typically is mostly used in the food and beverage environment, so feel free to put whatever appropriate PIN you want for that person. Last four of their phone number, last four of their social, something along those lines. And for both the password and PIN, we have these options over here, which are use password expiration or PIN expiration. Basically, that when they're turned on, it'll put a timer for that. So if you want it to be changed every year or in a specific amount of days, we can do that here. And also, this user must change PIN on next login, and same for password. So you as a manager could just type whatever in here and then check this box. As soon as they log in using their username and password, they'll be prompted to put whatever they want in. So this is a good one, so you don't have to create one and give them to it. The employee the information, they can just pick for themselves. Next is going to be first name and last name. Email is only going to be important for somebody that you possibly want to get automated reports sent to them from our system. To do that, we would need the email filled out here, and then this auto send report is going to put you on that list to be a possible recipient of an automated report. Security level. So these are going to be defined over here. So as you can see here, we have our various security levels here. And then to define these rules, if you hit define rules, it'll actually take you to the security section in which user roles are down here. Note in 3.10 or newer, these user roles have moved to our V5 online options interface. So you'll actually do this online if you're on a file version 3.10 or newer. F&B Security, as we can see here, these are defined down here. And if you need more details of those, these are actually hard-coded, and the descriptions of those are here. So if you're setting up a golf employee, the F&B Security is kind of irrelevant, and vice versa for security for a F&B employee here. Next, we actually can pick our classifications. Like I said, we can pick multiple of these. If you're using our system for payroll, you can put the pay rate in here. You can also leave it at 0, and if you're not using our system at all for timekeeping, you can just hit submit as well. We just needed to have something in there for each employee. Like I said, you can check multiple of these, and if that is the case, it will prompt them to pick when they clock in to the system. Down here from street down to notes is entirely up to you what you fill out. If you want more information about this employee, feel free to fill that out. Overtime as well. So if you're using our system for timekeeping, you can enable overtime by week or day. And then the criteria in which overtime happens. So after 40 hours, 1.5 pay rate, and this payroll start date starts on X day. So if your payroll starts on a Monday or Tuesday, this is where you can select that. And then what stores is that employee going to be available to? So basically, if a store isn't checked and they try to use their username or PIN for a location that they don't have checked, they will be unable to sign into that store. So just make sure that each store this person is able to work in has the checkbox next to it if you're using stores. And that's setting up an employee. More advanced functionality on top of this is going to be under security and user roles. Each of these user roles essentially is a module or an action that an employee can do. So if you needed to add user roles, you can add them as many as you want. Out of the box, we're going to have a handful up here: cashier, clerk, pro shopkeeper, read only, and T-sheet cashier. So our generic pro shop login is going to be using the cashier level security user role. And basically in here, each of these checkbox is basically exactly what it says. So the checkbox for cash count, that gives them the ability to do the cash count over short, same thing. If it's checked, they'll be able to see the over short balance. Change customer class, if at any time you need to change the customer class, whether in the customer module or starter hut, you're going to be able to do that here. And basically moving down, customer, they'll have the ability to go to the customer module, delete a sale, email, have the ability to enter the email module. Employee, go into the employee setup section here. Extensions, they'll be able to access the extensions module. Food and beverage module, CPS Air, food and beverage, the food and beverage section for reports, inventory module, lesson book. V3 is going to be the lesson book available to our customers. Options, so this is the entire options menu back here. Private club billing, the reports module, the report scheduler, which is the automated report scheduler. And then all of these are going to coordinate to the tabs in the reports module. So they'll have access to view the reports for today, weekly, yearly, etc. Returns day of only. So if that's on, they'll only be able to perform a return the day of the sale. The sales module here, sales returns. Starter Hut Mobile and its various features. Starter Hut V3 is going to be the Starter Hut module available to our customers. Timekeeper. And then Timekeeper admin access. So this is for management or anybody that has the ability to go into the Timekeeper admin and adjust anything about a person's shift time, delete a shift, add a shift, adjust various things about the clock in or clock out. Transaction editor is going to be the transaction editor that Private Club Billing uses. Gives you the ability to edit a transaction that was done for a member charge within a billing cycle. And lastly, the web store module. So essentially that's an overview of the user roles and an overview of what each of the user roles that you'll find yourself being assigned to an individual. This has been a general overview of employee setup, classifications, and user roles. If you have any questions, feel free to contact support.